Can a French person understand real Louisiana Cajun French? Apparently not, according to your many comments on my last video. I'm French, I live in Paris, and today we're gonna be reacting to videos you've sent me of people speaking Louisiana Cajun French and Louisiana Creole. And you said they were gonna be impossible for me to understand, so today we're gonna go deeper and put that to the test. So this first video is from this sweet older Cajun gentleman whose name is Norris Morvant of Thibodaux in Louisiana, and he's a World War II veteran, and he's gonna tell us a bit more about his story.
Ici, c'est tous les décorations de la guerre pour moi. C'est ça que j'avais dessus mon épaule. Et celui-là était ça. Sur mon épaule, c'est les avions. Celui-là, ça vient de General Patton, Bronze Star. Ça, c'était dans l'armée. À peu près 6 mois dans l'armée.
Okay, so there's a medal in particular that I recognized, and I'll tell you about it after.
Les jeunes, on parlait français avec toute la famille, tous les cousins, les cousines, mais après plusieurs années, on a perdu le français parce qu'on était interdit de parler français. On ne pouvait pas parler entre nous. Et c'est ça qu'on voulait faire. On voulait parler en français. Et les maîtresses et tout ça, ça arrêtait. Et on était punis des fois.
So in a bit, we're gonna get a bit deeper in how Cajun French almost disappeared, and not by accident, and how the number of French speakers in Louisiana dropped from around 1.5 million in 1970, so nearly 1 in 2 people, to 200,000 speakers today. But first, I want to make this clear. Cajuns are native French speakers from Louisiana, so he is obviously 100% speaking real French, and it's pretty easy for me to understand because his accent is similar to some I've heard from older people in France who roll their R's and speak a bit like this as well. Also, he talks about being punished for his French, and that's a bit ironic because his French skills were very useful to him in World War II, because like a lot of people from Louisiana, since his first language was French, they sent him to France during World War II.
Ça m'a aidé joliment bien parce que les officiers parlaient pas le français. Des fois, j'étais là dans l'office, et il y avait des Français qui étaient là et ça parlait pas l'anglais, alors j'allais dans l'office avec eux, juste assez pour faire comprendre. J'étais content que j'étais un nommé Frenchie.
So French speakers from Louisiana actually had a key role in liberating France during World War II, and they were called Frenchies because obviously they could speak French, and I find that so cool and super interesting, and that's actually something I didn't know before, and I learned about thanks to the many comments on my last video. So seriously, thank you, the response has been amazing, and I love learning about Louisiana and its French heritage. And speaking another language is always a strength, and that's something I feel super strongly about as someone who speaks 4 languages. And we're gonna see how French was helpful for Norris.
Dans le quartier, la bâtisse, pareil comme un lieutenant, j'étais tout partout. J'ai vu en vie Général Patton, De Gaulle, Winston Churchill. Aujourd'hui, on lit dans les livres. Mais c'était pas comme ça. Pour moi, c'était en vie. Et pour sûr que je ne croyais pas à ce temps-là que j'étais dans les histoires.
I love this segment in particular because he speaks with a lot of pride, and obviously well-earned pride. And then in this documentary, he goes on to show a very special medal that was given to him from France. So this red medal that you see right here is called la Légion d'honneur, and it is a really big deal. So you can really tell that France was grateful for his service. And seriously, languages are so valuable, and you never know which opportunities you're gonna get from them. Just like Norris, who truly took part in history because he could speak French. And Norris's story was such a beautiful one, and every time I watch this video, it kind of makes me emotional, so this is why I wanted to share it with you. But Cajun French is not the only language spoken in Louisiana. There's also Louisiana Creole.
Moi, je suis en forme créole. Moi, je suis né ici. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Thibodaux. Et je suis né dans la ville de Et Moi, je l'aime parler créole, comme on peut parler créole. Et je crois tout quelqu'un autour ici dit peut-être comprendre un petit brin créole. Si tu peux, comme on dit avant, si tu peux parler de l'anglais, si tu peux parler créole, tu peux courir à les places et puis parler créole avec différents mondes.
So the lady interviewed here, Renella Jones, speaks Louisiana Creole, and it's a really interesting language because you can hear that it's based on French, but there's also African and Native American influences. Also, it's a language that's considered endangered right now because there's less than 10,000 people speaking it. And I personally understand her quite well. I agree with what she said, that if you can speak both languages, you can understand a little bit of Creole. Obviously, I understand her less well than Cajun French speakers because it's a whole different language. But I understand a lot because it's based on French. Also, again, want to make this super clear, Creole is not broken French. It's an actual language with specific rules, so let's keep listening to her.
Mais comme je comprends lui, c'est différent. Tu comprends? C'est pareil comme toi, tu from France. Tu vas parler c'est comme ça, toi tu parles French, et puis moi je parle créole. Moi va peut-être jamais parler bon French comme toi tu peut-être jamais parler bon créole comme moi. Mais nous comprenons un et l'autre. Et si nous comprenons un et l'autre, nous pouvons faire les affaires ensemble. Comprends? Mais je ne crois pas un meilleur que l'autre.
I really love what she said here on we each speak our language, but we can understand each other. Seriously, that's all that matters. And this really echoes your comments. And a lot of you mentioned that it sounds similar to Haitian Creole. And on my side, I do not know Haitian Creole, but I've heard a lot of Creole from Reunion Island as a child. If you don't know about it, it's this French island in the Pacific that I really want to go to someday. So that's maybe why I can understand Louisiana Creole quite well, even though I can't speak it. And I've had a lot of native speakers of this language in the comments telling me the same thing. So I was telling you that Cajun French almost disappeared, and not by accident. And to understand what happened, let's keep watching this wonderful documentary by students at Tulane University.
Les autres nous fait des hontes devant le monde parce qu'on parle les français.
Qui c'est pas vos autres hontes?
Les maîtresses ont été punies.
Toi, tu es puni?
Oh, tous les jours, parce que je ne pouvais pas garder ma bouche fermée, je voulais parler. Puis je parlais français. Ça fait que j'étais punie. Il faut être au bout de les doigts. Mettre à genoux. Les autres disaient, Rita, I told you not to speak French. But I couldn't help myself.
Wow, that last sentence, you can really feel the violence of the punishments she had to suffer. So what happened is that from the 1920s to the 1960s, French was banned in school in Louisiana, and children were punished in very violent ways, both physically and mentally. And you can tell, just from hearing her speak, that it's still affecting her many years later. And this is what caused the number of French speakers to go down so much, but it also had a long-lasting impact.
Je ne voulais pas mes petits parler français.
Ah ouais?
Non. Parce que je ne voulais pas y d'être puni à l'école comme maman était punie. Ça fait que je ne voulais pas y parler français.
So, of course, in that context, she didn't teach French to her kids, which is very understandable. There's the fear of punishment, of course, but she also mentioned being shamed for speaking her native language. And that's also something the other speakers in the documentary talk about too. Like, they were made to feel less than for speaking French.
Je vois aujourd'hui que j'ai fait une erreur par les montrer à parler français à la maison. Parce que, dans des jobs, tu vas, t'as pour connaître. Si tu ne connais pas les français, tu as une meilleure chance avec ton job. Et pour moi, c'est un honneur qu'on ait parlé le français. Pour moi, c'est un gros honneur. Quand même, je parlais créole, puis je se foutais de moi parce que je parlais créole. Aujourd'hui, je suis proud pour dire que je peux le parler.
So it is very common for parents not to teach their languages to their kids for many reasons, but often it's in the hopes that they will integrate better and that their kids will not face the hardships the parents faced. If that's you, there's really no shame to be had. It's never too late to connect with your culture. And that's something that really resonates with me because, as some of you might know, my dad is from the country of Spain, and he really made a point to teach me Spanish, which I think was hard for him, but it was really worth it. Like, it is super rewarding to speak several languages languages. So please do not give up because it's never too late to learn a language and connect with your culture. And we're gonna see this in the next video. So here we're following Louis Michaud, who is giving a little tour of his hometown of Arnaudville to a group of French learners of all ages. Here in this exact moment, they're going to a supermarket to find ingredients to make a gumbo and eat together.
Ça c'est Dan.
Dan.
Oui.
Ça, c'est le Dan.
Piment doux.
Piment vert.
Piment vert.
Le filet gumbo. Le sauce chaude rouge. Oh, les gumbo, ça, c'est pas loin.
Oui, avec mes enfants ici pratiquent le français.
Oh, le français, ça, c'est bon.
So I always say this, but it's so important to practice in a way that's fun to you when you're learning a language. And this is why I love that Rosetta Stone Sapphire is the sponsor of this video. So Rosetta Stone Sapphire is a brand new experience by Rosetta Stone. And as always, you get access to their dynamic immersion method to learn a new language naturally, and also their true accent feature where you get pronunciation feedback based on real native speakers. But with Rosetta Stone Sapphire, you also get access to many personalized resources. For example, you can build custom vocab lists on any topic, or use chat missions to prepare for real-life conversations like booking a table at a restaurant or asking for directions. So if you want to try Rosetta Stone Sapphire and get access to their 25 languages, you can get an exclusive 25% off by clicking the link in the description or scanning this QR code. So our next video is from Télé Louisiane, which I recommend checking out because they have amazing content on Louisiana. Like the video we're gonna watch, where we meet Lainey Pickett. She's a teacher at an immersion school in Saint-Landry, which is a type of school where students get most of their classes in French.
Je m'appelle Lainey Pickett. Je suis enseignante à l'école Saint-Landry de deuxième année. Et je viens d'Arnaudville, ici dans la paroisse Saint-Landry. J'ai grandi à la campagne et j'avais 3 grands-parents qui parlaient français comme langue maternelle. J'ai pas vraiment pensé à ce que ça veut dire jusqu'à 20 ans. Donc, quand j'avais 20 ans, ma grand-mère est décédée. J'ai rendu compte que j'ai voulu protéger cette tradition de français en Louisiane.
This story about wanting to feel connected to her grandparents and her heritage is, I think, something that's both very sweet and that a lot of us can relate to.
C'était très important pour moi d'enseigner dans la même région où j'ai grandi parce que je trouve que c'est très gratifiant de partager ces traditions avec les élèves qui ont vécu la même histoire, les mêmes expériences que moi.
Yeah, she's definitely doing super meaningful work.
Je me sens très connectée et je pense que c'est important parce que on a beaucoup de monde qui quitte la Louisiane pour travailler au Texas, pour travailler où se trouvent beaucoup de postes.
I didn't know that, but I've seen a lot of people from Louisiana in Texas.
Si on ne sont pas connectés à notre culture, les choses qui sont vraiment très incroyables ici dans cet État, on va continuer de perdre nos jeunes enfants, la jeunesse qui peut peut-être dans l'avenir nous aider à améliorer notre économie.
I love that she's saying this because speaking several languages is always a strength. I personally was in the equivalent of an immersion school back in France, but in Spanish, which remember is my dad's first language. And let me tell you, it made learning languages so much easier, and I've had so many opportunities over the years thanks to the languages I speak. So in Louisiana, there's 36 immersion schools right now, and they've been developing rapidly since the 80s, due in part to the work of the Codophile, which is the organization that brought French back to Louisiana. So now let's see the perspective of someone who was in a French immersion program and now is a parent herself.
C'est très intéressant parce que quand j'étais jeune et j'étais au lycée, il y avait 70 étudiants dans mon grade et il y avait 10 qui apprenaient le français.
Wow, that's not a lot of people, and you know that must not be too long ago because she's pretty young.
Il y a une quinzaine d'années, j'ai étudié le français, j'adorais le français. La question c'était pourquoi tu aimes le français? Pourquoi tu étudies le français? Pourquoi est-ce que c'est si fascinant? Et maintenant, la réponse est différente. Quand je dis aux amis ou aux voisins que mes enfants sont dans une école d'immersion, c'est « Oh, c'est cool! Est-ce que tu peux parler avec moi sur ça? »
So I love this transformation because it seems that people were not seeing even the purpose of learning a different language, and now more and more people are interested. In the documentary I've shown you, they say that the number of students learning French has doubled in the past 10 years. So obviously I don't personally know this woman, I have no idea where she studied, but to my ear her accent sounds very French from France. Like if I met her in Paris, I would think that she has lived in France for at least 20 years. And some of the kids interviewed as part of this piece also have a French accent from France, which was a bit surprising to me, but totally makes sense because a lot of the students studying in French immersion schools have French teachers from French-speaking countries from all over the world, thanks to a Codophile program that brings international teachers to Louisiana. So now let's see what someone who has grandkids in immersion school thinks about it. And remember, while the documentary doesn't clearly say it, the lady interviewed here, Mavis, probably grew up at a time where speaking French was frowned upon.
Mes petits-enfants, même s'ils sont dans des programmes d'immersion, ils vont jamais parler le français comme moi. Parce qu'ils sont montrés à parler en français, peut-être par une Belge, une Française, un Africain, un Canadien. Parce que nous n'avons pas fait assez de professeurs de français en Louisiane encore. J'ai des amis, oui, qui sont professeurs, mais ce n'est pas toutes nos écoles, cas des Louisianais, qui sont professeurs de français. Alors, ça ne va jamais être le même français que le nôtre. That's what I think. Mais quand même, c'est un français, je trouverais ça bien comme n'importe français.
This is such an emotional moment. You can tell she's really feeling a lot of things here. And given what we've just seen in this video, I totally understand her. It's such a complex topic because on one hand, she loves that people are speaking French, but you can also tell that she feels sad that things are a bit different. But as a French person, I think that Louisiana Cajun and Creole culture and languages are beautiful and different from the ones in France, and that's a good thing. You know, they should be preserved, they should be shared, because having different cultures really makes life more interesting. And that's why I personally really love this topic, and I've enjoyed exploring the Louisiana French cultures a bit deeper this time. So if you're still watching, please share your story with me. That's how I learn new things. And go watch one of the videos that are on screen right now. I'll see you there. Bye for now.